thank our hosts, Turkey, the President of Turkey, the government of Turkey, but also the people of the beautiful city of Ankara. I do realize that organizing a summit like this in your capital also means that logistics for the people living in the capital is not that easy. So I really want to thank everyone living in Ankara for putting up with this. It is really appreciated. It is an important summit. You are a gracious host. Thank you so much. Last summit in The Hague was all about planning, targeting. It was about the money. It was about industry. It was about, of course, continuing our support for Ukraine. This summit, as I always said, is about implementation, getting it done. When you look at the numbers, 258 billion extra spent dollars in 2025 and 2026 by Canadian and European allies, it's staggering. You're reaching the max you can spend more in terms of absorption capacity. When you look at the defense industry, on both sides of the Atlantic, we are talking about almost 200,000 jobs in the US, supported by European and Canadian investments in the US when it comes buying from them, investing in them, the defense industry, and so many jobs in Europe and Canada directly related to this. But first of all, we do this because we need the kit. We need to be able to fight the wars if they would ever happen, basically preventing them being so strong that nobody will attack us. So this is why we need to ramp up defense industrial production. Yesterday was a great success. It was a splash. So many new contracts, so many new commitments. So this was also about implementing. Last year, planning, this year, implementing. And then the support for Ukraine, of course, continuing, extremely important. And I expect allies today to again commit, not a year. We'll see exactly what comes out of it. My expectation is that we will come out with a strong commitment to keep on supporting Ukraine. What this leads to is a NATO which is truly transformed. If you look at it from the United States perspective, you will have European allies which are much more capable to, with the US, work together in NATO to keep 1 billion people safe. President Trump has been able to finally get done what since Eisenhower, American presidents, tried to do, which was to equalize defense spending between Europe and the United States. It is now happening. On this trajectory, 5%, we already reached the 4% this year, which is amazing. Of course, not only because of President Trump, also because of the Russian threat. But let's be honest, President Trump encouraging European allies and Canada to do this has really helped. And it is delivering. I think this is absolutely important. So a much stronger NATO, a much stronger Europe in a stronger NATO. NATO 3.0. And then I also expect allies today to discuss Iran. I expect allies today to reconfirm that Iran should never, ever get its hand on a nuclear capability. And secondly, that the principle of the freedom of navigation, so the Strait of Hormuz, completely opening up again is a sine qua non, is crucial for all 32 allies. So with that, I'm happy to take a few questions. I cannot hear you. Is there a microphone to you?
It's not.
Oh, sorry. Then I'll
you mentioned President Trump again talking about movements.
Okay, sorry. On that issue, we discussed this at length in Davos. As you know, we have a process in place. I think he absolutely has a point that Iran, sorry, not Iran here, it's China and Russia gaining access to the Arctic. So it is crucial that as an alliance, and this is what we agreed in Davos, work together to make sure that doesn't happen. And also when it comes to Denmark and Greenland itself, we have a good process in place.
And yet, Secretary-General,
good to see you.
He said he's very disappointed with NATO in his opening comments, disappointed with them regarding Iran, disappointed regarding the lack of action of NATO allies over Iran, despite your best efforts yet again to explain to the President how much Europe is spending, how much Canada is spending, and what support could be available for Iran. Is it falling on deaf ears? And actually, he said he didn't want to be here without this intervention.
Well, hey, listen, we know that there is disappointment on the American side when it comes to Iran. That has to do with isolated cases. At the same time, we see up to 5,000 sorties from European bases. It's implementing all the bilateral basin agreements. It is again, Europe as one big platform of power projection for the United States. and that's happening. And when it comes to the money and the spending, I mean, Europe now equalizing with the United States. It is this president who encouraged us to do this very forcefully. Of course, there is also the Russian threat, which forces us to do this on the European side of NATO. And I think this is a big win for the American president. He has been extremely successful, pushing for this since Trump 45, now achieving it in Trump 47. Yes, sir.
What's your reaction on the recent US attacks on Iran, and why don't you hear that this will foreshadow this summit?
Well, I think it was absolutely necessary, because when you have a ceasefire, and Iran is basically violating the ceasefire, we see what happened yesterday with ships being attacked, I think it is totally crucial that the US forcefully reacts.
Do you think that the current level of allied forces in Poland is enough to deter Russia?
But you know, what we have to do is forces, we need the kits, so the defense industrial output, we need everything. And are you from Poland?
Yes.
Your country is investing heavily in its armed forces. You have already basically achieved all the targets. You are reforming your armed forces as we speak. You know that there's a strong US commitment to Poland. We have heard this from every senior politician in the US. But of course we have to make sure every day that we are as strong as possible. Yes, sir, over there. I expect again for today to acknowledge collectively that Russia is the long-term threat to NATO territory. Hey, you have to read the declaration when it comes out, but I have clear expectations that the long-term threat of Russia will again be noted. Yes, please. But this is about delivering on the pledge. The 5% pledge was there. What we are now doing is delivering on the 5% pledge. And the amazing news is that already this year in 2026 we have, when you combine the core defense spending and the defense-related spending, we have already reached 4% on a 10-year trajectory. In 1 year, Canada and Europe getting to the 4%. And that means huge increases in core defense spending, also increase, of course, in defense-related spending. But then on the priority. Given the fact that spending is going up and so much money is now coming in, also noting that we need to keep the support for Ukraine going, I think the main issue yesterday, today, is defense industrial output. Because in the end, you cannot defend yourself with dollars or pounds or euros or liras here in Turkey. You have to protect yourself with men and women in uniform. You have to recruit them, and you need defense industrial output. This was the problem. It's not completely solved, not in the US, not in Europe. We still need more defense industrial output, but we are really getting so far ahead already this year. You've seen it yesterday. Two more questions. He is completely committed to it. There is a complete commitment of the United States to NATO, but there was one, and still to a certain extent, is one expectation. So the commitment is there, no doubt. Also because NATO is there in the US interest, to prevent, for example, the nuclear submarines of Russia to end up on the shores of the United States. The US to stay safe, it's a secure Atlantic, Europe and the Arctic. So there is complete commitment to NATO. But hey, there's also an expectation. Expectation was and is that the Europeans and the Canadians will equalize their spending with the United States, which I think, and many of the colleagues in the room today think, is completely fair. Now, the good news is this is the big win today. It's a loss for Putin, it is a win for President Trump, that the Europeans and the Canadians are doing exactly that. Final question. Sir, it's the hand.
From Finland.
Can you speak a little bit louder?
Yeah. What is your message to Russia and Vladimir Putin? They are carefully following NATO summit here in Ankara. What is your message?
My message is that this alliance of 1 billion people living in Europe, living in Canada, living in the United States, that this alliance will defend every inch of our territory, that you cannot win from NATO. We are defensive, we will never attack anyone, we will only defend our way of life, our democracies, our territory, so don't fool with us, don't play with us. Thank you so much, and I'll see you after the conference at my press conference. Looking forward to that. Take care.
Got a long day. Gerçekten çok
Just be mindful of the camera.
You're okay?
Yeah. Please. Good morning, Prime Minister. Welcome.
How are you?
A lovely morning.
It's a lovely morning. I'm the first of May. Oh, it's something we've already had so bad.
Start and thank President Erdogan and Secretary-General Rutte for this, President for his amazing hospitality, Secretary-General for organizing this meeting. It takes place at a context where the threats that we face are changing rapidly, both in terms of the nature of warfare, hybrid warfare, hypersonic missiles, autonomous warfare, and also the direct threats that we face in terms of hybrid warfare. Russia is a direct adversary. Burdens are shifting. Burdens are shifting away from the United States towards Canada, towards Europe. You see a big, I'll speak for Canada, a big increase in our defense spending. It was only before I became Prime Minister 18 months ago, we were spending 1.5% of GDP on defense. It's now going to be 4% in the next 2 years. That gives an order of magnitude. We just completed our largest defense procurement with submarines, announced it 2 days ago. So the burdens are shifting, capacities are building. Capacities are building, and one thing I'd emphasize, and then I'll take 1 or 2 questions, is that those capacities are building on a regional basis. So if you're Canada, focus obviously on North American security and the crescent that runs through the Arctic down into the Baltics, and we will be announcing today the extension of our Operation Reassurance in Latvia. That's the type of approach of a modern NATO. That's the approach that meets the new threats that we face.
Despite your best efforts, despite your interesting relationship with the US President, can we say that? He doesn't want to be here. He said as much. He said he would only be here on the basis of that. He wanted to be here with Mr. Erdogan as well. Do you think actually the US is pulling out of NATO or wants to pull out of NATO quicker than we can fill in the gaps?
The first thing, I spoke at length with President Trump on Sunday prior to coming here. The president wants to see that shift in burden. I would remind that President Obama wanted to see that shift in burden, and it's appropriate that there is that shift. It's happening. That momentum is picking up. and it will proceed. And the president's here; he's in a good mood, and we're looking forward to discussing it. I'll take one last question then.
Recent U.S. attacks on Iran, and why don't you fear that this will overshadow this summit?
Well, the first is I would observe that, in effect, a period of extreme de-escalation, shall I put it, had been put in place for the funeral. Iran had been acting irresponsibly, attacking Saudi and Qatari targets particularly. There has been a response as appropriate. We look to de-escalation of the hostilities, but it underscores the scale of the threats and the enduring threats the alliance faces. So thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Good morning, Prime Minister, Your Excellency. Welcome.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm very well.
Summit last year at The Hague was an historic summit with a lot of new commitments, and this year we're showing everyone that we're delivering with a stronger Europe and also a stronger NATO to protect our area against the threat mainly coming from Russia. And I'm very happy to be here with all our allies. Now it's very important that we continue to work for a diplomatic solution to the Iran war. Everyone is working very hard on that, and we're confident that we can reach a final deal.
Isn't it time for Europe to actually better coordinate its policies? There's pushback against American allies from some of the national leaders, and goes vice versa. Are we still in a situation in Europe where Commission versus the national government is just too often?
I think over the past year, Europe has shown that with greater unity, we can actually better protect our own continent and be a stronger form. Yes, for sure. If you see, we have tripled our defense spending. A lot of other countries have also increased it massively. And over the past few days, we've seen many deals on military cooperation between European allies, showing that a stronger Europe is also in the benefit of all of us. We're definitely showing with a lot of European countries that we've stepped up our plate and that everything that we are doing is not only in favor of the European security but also for the United States. We have a lot of capabilities that are crucial for the United States as well, and companies from Europe and America are getting in closer cooperation for stepping up the defense industry. So it is in the interest of the United States to be part of this stronger NATO alliance. I'm absolutely confident about that. Thank you very much. Well, we've shown over the past few months that we are quite capable to defend this continent ourselves, but obviously with the help of the Americans, and we are redesigning NATO to NATO 3.0, and we're doing a great job, I think. Thank you very much. Yeah. We hebben natuurlijk een fragiel staakt het vuren in het Midden-Oosten. Met af en toe beschietingen over en weer. Het is ook belangrijk om dan te laten zien dat je niet accepteert dat dat staakt het vuren wordt geschonden. En tegelijkertijd moet je er ook voor zorgen dat je dan ook wel alle diplomatieke druk erop zet om de gesprekken weer voort te zetten, zodat er ook een blijvende oplossing komt voor deze oorlog. Nederland staat met andere landen ook klaar om in die straat van Hormuz de vrije scheepvaart weer mogelijk te maken. En dat is uiteindelijk voor de hele wereld belangrijk. Dank u wel.
Did it get some?
Altså, vi taler momentumskift.
So my main message today will be, of course, the importance of rearming Europe. We need to step up. Secondly, we need a stronger industrial base in Europe and transatlantic in the US. And thirdly, we need to help Ukraine even more, put more pressure on Russia and ensure that the only right winner of this war, of course, will be Ukraine. I think everybody knows that it's difficult times, and therefore our unity and our willingness to stand together in this world is maybe more important than ever seen before. Yeah, I heard the US president yesterday, and I think the US position is unfortunately very clear on this topic, and our position is as clear as it has been all through. Greenland is of course not for sale. We hope that all, including all allies, will respect the Greenlandic people's right for self-determination. And we are a sovereign state, and we need everybody to respect our territorial integrity and our sovereignty.
Denmark ready to militarily defend Greenland, an extraordinary premise, but is it ready to militarily defend Greenland if there is an attack from any party?
We are ready to defend every inch of NATO, including our own territory. But one of the reasons why we have built NATO many, many years ago is if anything happens to one of us, then everybody should stand up for each other. I mean, Article 5 is our insurance. It goes for the eastern flank right now with the hybrid war coming in from Russia. It goes for US when they were attacked 9/11. And the same goes for Greenland if anything happens in our direction.
But against any party, whether it's a foe or it's a friend, we will defend every inch of Greenland.
Of course we will defend the Kingdom of Denmark. Excuse me? I haven't heard that they are not committed to Article 5. And I mean, from a Danish, from a European perspective, I mean, I would not be able to secure my people without NATO. And I think the same goes for US. It is because of NATO that our people, transatlantic, can be safe. And that will be the same in the future. Thank you.
се провежда в един важен момент на дълбока трансформация на Алианса, който отразява необходимостта и, разбира се, амбицията на европейските страни членки да засилят своя принос в общите отбранителни способности на Алианса. Защото конфликтите в съседство, особено въоръжените сблъсъци в Украйна и в Близкият изток, ясно показват на европейските държави, че гарантирането на сигурността на техните граждани е неотменима отговорност и изисква системни усилия. Специално за България, с укрепването на нашия собствен национален отбранителен капацитет, страната ни се превръща в важен фактор на стабилност в критичния и стратегически важен за Алианса Черноморски регион. И в тази връзка страната ни съсредоточава своите усилия за изграждане на собствени отбранителни способности, но и за развитие на нашата отбранителна индустрия и наука. Постигането на целта на НАТО за 5% от брутният вътрешен продукт за отбрана за нас означава развитие не само на класическите отбранителни способности, но и инвестиции в инфраструктура, в свързаност, в дигитална устойчивост и киберсигурност. И много важно е, че днес се провежда тук и форумът на отбранителните индустрии, защото това дава възможност за преодоляване на фрагментацията в европейската отбранителна индустрия. Дава възможност Разбира се, този въпрос ще бъде обсъден, но аз искам да кажа, че редица български правителства подкрепяха системно и всестранно Украйна с и финансова, и медицинска, и хуманитарна, и военна подкрепа. Но всички български политици, които най-много обещаваха финансова подкрепа за Украйна, направиха много малко за развитие на нашата икономика и за осигуряване на средства в нашия бюджет. Така че България ще подкрепя финансово Украйна в рамките на нашите възможности, без това, разбира се, да влияе върху социалните разходи и трябва да отчитаме големия дефицит, който ни завещаха предишните управления. Нашата позиция е, че Европа трябва да осигури такива възможности, че хората в Гренландия да се самоопределят и аз мисля, че може да бъде намерено едно рационално решение, така че Гренландия и в момента предоставя възможност за базиране на военна техника, за базиране на военни способности на нейна територия, така че просто този процес може да бъде разширен. Не, тази тема периодично избухва. Аз не очаквам това да се случи и мисля, че Европа стои единна зад Дания в този спор. Could you repeat your question, please? I believe that the global security challenges are pushing us to stay united. We don't have other choice, but we need to stay very reasonable. We need comprehensive assessment of the security challenges. And that's why we need to take into account all the security circumstances. And we need to stay united, of course. But we need to lead and we need to organize our policy in this manner, not to escalate. Not to escalate in Ukraine, not to escalate in Iceland, not to escalate in the Middle East.
What is your message to Russia and Vladimir Putin? Russia is shooting ballistic missiles from Kiev. What is your message?
My message is clear. I mean, we, the collective West, have been trying to achieve a conventional victory over the biggest nuclear power without having enough capabilities to counter their hypersonic missiles. And this is increasing dramatically the risk of escalation. This is increasing dramatically the risk of involving nuclear answer, and this is very, very dangerous. That's why we need to develop conditions as soon as possible for diplomacy and peace and not to escalate. This is the statement from the summit from 2022. But again, we need to find all the conditions that lead to peace, sustainable and just peace. Thank you. I cannot please hear your question, please. Could you come close?
How can you describe currently the Bulgarian-Ukrainian military cooperation because Bulgaria stopped its military aid?
Yes, I have just said that we have exhausted our capabilities to provide military support. I mean weapons and munitions from the warehouses of the Bulgarian armed forces. We have provided 13 packages. We don't have anything less to supply to Ukraine. What we can do, this is technical military assistance. What does it mean? We can guarantee that we can accept military equipment to be repaired in Bulgaria. This is our support. Thank you.
Na szczycie NATO w Ankarze. Przyjeżdżamy tutaj oczywiście z naszymi strategicznymi celami, strategicznymi celami. Jest sojusznikiem, który wywiązuje się ze wszystkich zobowiązań wobec swoich partnerów i myślę, że ten przykład Polski będzie także ważny na forum Sojuszu Północnoatlantyckiego. Oczywiście mamy też kwestie, które są od dekad nierozwiązane w Sojuszu Północnoatlantyckim. Będę konsekwentnie zabiegał o to, aby rurociągi, a więc rurociągi, które kończą się dzisiaj na byłej granicy wschodnich i zachodnich Niemiec, zostały poprowadzone do Rzeczpospolitej Polskiej, do Europy Środkowej. Podwójne zastosowanie rurociągów, tej infrastruktury dual use daje też możliwość budowania bezpieczeństwa całej wschodniej flanki NATO, więc dla mnie to jest także okazja i dla całej Europy Środkowej do tego, aby jeszcze raz podnieść tę kwestię. 3 zasadnicze kwestie, strategiczne kwestie, budowanie solidarności Sojuszu Północnoatlantyckiego, więzi transatlantyckich, wskazanie Federacji Rosyjskiej jako głównego zagrożenia Polski.
President Trump, when he said he could pull all troops out of Europe, which would include Poland. And secondly, sir, do you have concerns that Vladimir Putin is set to have an incursion almost imminently on NATO territory, possibly Poland, sir?
Sir, it's always possible that Vladimir Putin will use military corps of Russian Federation against countries from East Central Europe. We try to solidify not only in NATO but also in Poland to build a strong Polish military service, and we are here to solidify each other and recognize the main threat of Russian Federation. Of course, President Trump is a great friend of Republic of Poland, a great friend of Poland. We have almost 10,000 American soldiers in Poland. We would like to set the permanent camp and permanent camp for American soldiers in Poland, and I'm sure that American soldiers in Poland will stay, and together with Polish soldiers will secure the Central East Europe and the borders of NATO.
Czy są jakieś nowe konkrety w kwestii polskiego bezpieczeństwa, na przykład w kontekście amerykańskiej bazy, czy też była rozmowa z prezydentem Zełenským odnośnie aktualnego sporu polsko-ukraińskiego?
Oczywiście wczoraj spędzone kilka godzin na oficjalnej kolacji u prezydenta Erdogana, któremu jeszcze raz bardzo dziękuję przede wszystkim za zorganizowanie szczytu NATO. Było okazją do rozmawiania z wieloma liderami. Rozmawiałem także dość krótko z prezydentem Donaldem Trumpem. Oczywiście zawsze nasze rozmowy odnoszą się do stałej obecności wojsk amerykańskich w Polsce. Ta sprawa wygląda bardzo dobrze, szczególnie po już oficjalnym liście sekretarza Hekseta do ministra obrony narodowej, pana Kosiniaka-Kamysza. Ja o to zabiegam od 3 września, od pierwszej wizyty w Stanach Zjednoczonych. Pan prezydent Trump wypełnia swoje deklaracje. Teraz już wszystko przed Polskim Ministerstwem Obrony Narodowej. Można powiedzieć, że ta autostrada do stałej obecności wojsk amerykańskich w Polsce na poziomie prezydentów, na poziomie politycznym jest otwarta. Wczoraj rozmawiałem z wieloma liderami świata podczas kolacji, naszymi sojusznikami. Wśród nich był także oczywiście prezydent Zełenský. Być może jeszcze będzie okazja dzisiaj, aby porozmawiać. Wydaje mi się to naturalne, że państwa, które są sąsiadami, które mają wspólnego wroga, jakim jest Federacja Rosyjska, pozostają ze sobą w dialogu, niezależnie od pewnych napięć bilateralnych.
Donald Trump is impressed by all of these billions of pounds and euros of money that's being invested in weapons since last year? Or do you think that there's a risk that he will only want to protect allies like Poland, that really is stepping up to meet this new 5% target, and maybe not be so helpful to support allies like the UK that aren't going so quickly?
Madam, you have to ask Mr. President Donald Trump about his opinion. I can only repeat that President Donald Trump is a real friend of Poland, and our cooperation is on the highest level. Dyskutowaliśmy wczoraj z prezydentem Zełenským kurtuazyjnie. Dzisiaj być może powtórzymy tą dyskusję. Oczywiście stanowisko w kwestiach, które dotyczą naszych bilateralnych napięć, dla mnie jest niezmienne. Polska i myślę, że cała Europa nie może traktować odwoływania się do żołnierzy UPA, którzy odpowiadają za śmierć 120 000 Polaków. Natomiast to nie wyklucza naszego dialogu, naszej dyskusji. To jest rzecz oczywista w świecie dyplomacji, że jeszcze raz to powtórzę, pozostajemy w dialogu, a także odczuwamy wspólne zagrożenie za sprawą Federacji Rosyjskiej. Ukraina jest w wojnie z Federacją Rosyjską. Polska przez wiele wieków była w wojnie, w konflikcie z Federacją Rosyjską, więc jest ten punkt odniesienia i zrozumienia tej sytuacji.
US attacks on Iran, and why don't you fear that this is a friend of Poland?
Is he a friend of NATO as a whole?
I hope so. We are here to solidify each other in NATO, so the President Trump and United States of America are the linchpin, the fundament of NATO, and transatlantic relations are most important to solidify the NATO.
He's weakening the alliance when he talks about things like Greenland or troop withdrawal.
Allies can solve the problems inside the NATO, and I'm sure that we will solve the problems around the many international issues. Thank you very much.
nepřichodí poslední, ale absolutně nejdůležitější byla Georgia, která přišla úplně poslední. Už tam nebyl pan prezident Erdogan, který vítal všechny, už tam byl jenom viceprezident, tak to byl první moment. No a potom samozřejmě jsme se vítali se všema, hlavně manželky, některé se neviděli dlouho, takže bylo to jako velice fajn a my jsme měli s Monikou možnost mluvit s prezidentem Trumpem, tak jsme se ptali, kde je Melanie, no tak prezident Trump nám vysvětloval, že samozřejmě pro ní chodit sem na otočku, že ty cesty jsou únavné. Prezident Trump je velice pyšný na Melanii kvůli tomu filmu, který natočila, takže jsme ji pozdravovali. No a potom tam byli všichni, takže já jsem samozřejmě gratuloval norskému premiérovi Haalandovi, protože jsme si psali, když vyhráli, takže no a mluvili jsme se všema de facto, takže potom u stolu jsme seděli se Zelenskými, s námi tam byla dánská premiérka, bulharský premiér, já jsem seděl vedle lotyšského prezidenta Rinkěviče, který má dlouholeté zkušenosti z NATO, takže využil jsem to k tomu. Mluvil jsem s polským prezidentem, jsem se optal, kdy konečně už budeme mít velvyslance v Praze, protože tam mají podobné vztahy prezident a premiér, jak u nás. Tak jo, využil jsem to vlastně k tomu, abych neformálně se s nimi pobavil, takže bylo to příjemné. Bavili jsme se samozřejmě, bylo zajímavé, že Zelenský dostali jmény v bulharštině, jak jsme zjistili potom u stolu, takže neměli v ukrajinštině, takže bylo to o jídle, bylo to o všem možném, ale určitě to nebylo o výdajích na NATO, to určitě ne.
Doplňující otázku, jak vypadala konkrétně ta debata s panem Zelenským, jestli můžete k tomu něco blíže říci.
My jsme seděli tak, že Monika seděla tady a seděla vedle paní Zelenské a Zelenský seděl, takže já jsem seděl vedle Rinkěviče, takže se Zelenským jsme se bavili o jídle a o tom, že ten jídelníček nebyl v ukrajinštině.
Takže Ukrajiny se neptal pan prezident a nepozval vás na Ukrajinu?
Ne. Vůbec nikdo nemluvil o výdajích. Já jsem se bavil samozřejmě lotyšským prezidentem o jeho názor. Co je důležité, byl projev Zelenského, který mluvil o tom, že Ukrajina je schopná vlastně zasáhnout všechny ruské rafinérie na celém území a že v podstatě jsou vybaveny velice dobře z drony, ale co je hlavní problém, že nemají protibalistickou ochranu a vyzval vlastně Evropu, aby investovala do balistické ochrany, že ty patrioty je potřeba taky mít v Evropě. A všeobecně převládá atmosféra, že vlastně vojensky je třeba donutit Rusko k jednání. No tak uvidíme, jak dneska ty projevy, to už bude vážná debata, že se opakuju na neformální večeři, vůbec nikdo tohle jako neřešil tyhle věci. No. Mluvil jsem i samozřejmě ze všema, co tam byli, jsem mluvil.
Budete zmiňovat v tom svém projevu i to, jak by měla Česká republika navyšovat výdaje na obranu, i teda v kontextu, že právě bylo zveřejněno podle odhadu na to, že by Česko mělo mít letos výdaje na obranu 2,01%, tak jak vnímáte tady ty odhady, které jsou teď nově zveřejněné a bude tedy Česko plnit ty 2% letos?
Já si myslím, že tento rok 2% vlastně nedosáhneme, protože jsme zdědili ten rozpočet s dírou 90 miliard a my jsme se museli rozhodnout, jestli zastavíme veškeré dálnice a obchvaty nebo navýšíme další výdaje. To, co se dělo na obraně v minulosti, je skutečně velice netransparentní, takže my určitě chceme, aby to bylo transparentní, aby to nekupovali nějaké podivné kuchyně prodražené. No a na příští rok určitě v rozpočtu budou 2%, bude tam navýšení o 36 miliard, ale doufáme, že teda obrana zásadním způsobem vlastně změní to pořizování toho vojenského materiálu.
Toho zvyšování do roku 2035, protože to je jedno z témat summitu, jak Česká republika, než by to byla Česká republika, ale jak ty země členské vlastně dojdou k tomu zvýšení, k tomu cíli.
Já chápu Spojené státy, je potřeba si uvědomit, že kde jsme. Spojené státy vydávají ročně 1000 miliard dolarů na zbrojení. 1000 miliard dolarů je 21 500 miliard korun. Jo, takže my, pokud se budeme příští rok někde pohybovat kolem až 200 miliard nebo 194 miliard podle odhadu HDP, tak vydáváme 1% výdajů Spojených států na zbrojení. Oni příští rok chtějí to navýšit na 1500 miliard dolarů, takže jako ta atmosféra je, všichni mluví o válce, všichni mluví o zbrojení a zatím jsem neslyšel slovo mír teda včera vůbec.
Že vlastně se musí vojensky donutit Rusko k jednání, jste teď řekl. Tak já se chci ptat právě i v tomto, je asi třeba navyšovat ty výdaje, třeba tedy toto zvýšit a jak vlastně Česká republika, jak vaše vláda toto vnímá, protože...
My nejsme ve válce. Ve válce je Ukrajina, které pomáhá NATO a jestli donutíme Rusko vojensky jednání, to já nevím, to ukáže čas.
A je tedy v plánu, že Česká republika bude postupně navyšovat ty výdaje na obranu, když příští rok chcete ty 2%, ale v tom roce 35 má být až 3,5 těch tvrdých?
To HDP roste, takže my jsme na 2%, nikdy nebyly splněny, takže my je chceme splnit a my samozřejmě potřebujeme peníze i na nemocnice, na zdravotnictví, potřebujeme peníze na navýšení platu policistů, my potřebujeme vnitřní bezpečnost, jo, takže my jsme na 2%, nikdy nebyly splněny, my se o to pokusíme příští rok a uvidíme. Já chápu, že Spojené státy tohle prosazují velice striktně, hlavně, aby jsme nakupovali jejich zbraně. Evropa, Macron vlastně říká zase něco jiného. Tak uvidíme dneska ty projevy. Já budu mluvit jeden z posledních, protože jsme na tom třetí nejhorší. Oni dodržují přesně, tak uvidíme, jaké ty projevy budou. No.
Včera s panem prezidentem ohledně toho, jak dneska to jednání Severoatlantické rady bude vypadat, v jakém formátu, i z protokolárních nějakých ohledů?
Nemluvil, on byl na večeři dřív než já, my jsme přišli až potom, já jsem mu podal ruku, ale spolu jsme nemluvili.
O kterém mluvil pan ministr Macinka?
To je záležitost pana Macinky, který našel nějaké peníze, které mě byly určeny.
Máte konkrétní částku?
Nějaká menší částka je to, které byly určeny pro Ukrajinu, ale jelikož my jsme se zavázali, že nebudeme dávat peníze Ukrajině a budeme pokračovat ty možnice, tak on ty peníze poslal vlastně na ten program PURL, ale je to jednorázová menší částka, nevím jak velká je. We are finishing.
Vůči tomu se velmi ostře ohradil váš koaliční partner, předseda SPD a sněmovny Tomio Okamura.
V pátek, tak určitě si to vyříkáme. Jo, mějte se hezky. No.
Prezidentem Trumpem, ten tedy vůbec neřešil výdaje na obranu a tak dále, bavili jste se pouze.
Trump je stále stejně příjemný a bavili jsme se o Melánii a o filmu. Prosím vás, na večeři nebylo nic o výdajích NATO, nikoho to na večeři nezajímalo. Byli jsme tam s manželkami, bavili jsme se o jídle, o plno věcech, o fotbalu, Haaland, Genius a tak dále. Jo.
Zazní ta kritika na Česku, že se neplní ty 2%. Čekáte tu kritiku dneska na té formální části?
Uvidíme, my obhajujeme plnění výdajů minulé vlády, ale my vystupujeme za Českou republiku, takže určitě Fialovou vládu pomlouvat nebudeme. Jo? Mějte se hezky, na shledanou.
Good morning, everybody. I have a couple of points to make before NATO Ankara Summit. The first one is that allies should increase the defense expenditure. For example, Estonia invests in defense almost 7% this year. So this is also the expectations to our allies that to increase the capabilities and defense expenditure as already promised in Hague. Second is that NATO needs strong forward defense against Russia. Russia is a credible and acute threat to everybody, and strong forward posture, strong defense, different countries stands up against it. And also We need to increase our capabilities in defense industry because we're still lagging behind compared to other countries. And the third one is that we should take concrete goals, mention them, and take concrete goals in helping of Ukraine. Because for us and for Europe, for NATO, Ukraine is fighting for us the rule-based world and the freedom. The blood is spilled for us also. Estonia has taken the commitment to help Ukraine by 0.25% per year, but last year it was already 0.35% because we always add more because we can do more. So I expect this summit also to mention this and take concrete goals. So thank you, and I hope this will be an excellent summit.
Prime Minister, do you fear that actually the US wouldn't be there for Estonia despite all the efforts you're making? And could you just tell us a little bit about the threats you are facing on a regular basis from Russia?
Every prime minister has his tenure and his time. Mine has been pretty much involved in different security incidents with Russia because when we decoupled, desynchronized our energy grids from Russia, the Baltic energy grids, and synchronized ourselves with Central Europe, then at that moment we needed NATO's help on the sea because Russia's shadow fleet was hitting our subsea cables between Estonia and Finland and so on. So I called Secretary-General Mark Rutte, so did Alex Stubb from Finland, and our military guys interacted. And right now, as we are here, speaking here, we have NATO operation ongoing, or vigilance activity ongoing in the Baltic Sea. That was one. Second one was when the MiGs, Russian fighter jets, entered Estonian airspace. And that moment, NATO's air policing went up. Italian F-35s, the most modern they are, went up and diverted and escorted Russian planes out. And we have had different incidents. For example, air policing from Romania shot down one drone on Estonian territory and so on. So if you're asking, is NATO working, and if I'm confident that NATO is working, I'm absolutely confident, because on the military level, I'm from the practical side. I'm not talking what if, because I know NATO is working. We have operations on the sea. We have air policing, which will be changed to air defense this summit. So I'm quite assured that America will be there. And President Trump has said quite robustly also with the Russian incidents that when asked, he will protect Baltics and Poland. So this is very important message also for us and also to Russia. Thank you. Thank you.
On the right side.
Several words. More Kantianism than Machiavellism. Today I would like to say that the motto, stronger Europe, stronger NATO, in my thoughts is that enlarged, united Europe is stronger Europe. But the strongest Europe is Europe living in peace and democracy based on principles and values. That's my message. Thank you.
Kako to komentirate in pa kakšne načrte boste danes predstavili? Gospod Rutte pričakuje konkretne načrte.
To je, ne vem že kateri moj NATO vrh, ne, in prvič je Slovenija v poziciji, ko malo sklanjamo glave, ne toliko zaradi številk, ampak predvsem zaradi prelomljenih obljub. So države, ki so blizu nas, pa niso tako vehementno nekaj obljubljale, pa podpisovale, pa potem tega ne izpolnile in to je po mojem večji problem, ker kar se NATO tiče, NATO bolj skrbi za našo varnost, kot Slovenija skrbi za varnost NATO. In je pošteno, da tudi mi oddelamo svojo domačo nalogo in prispevamo svoj delež. Zdaj, kako priti iz te situacije, čez noč se to ne da, ne? Slovenija ima svoje javnofinančne probleme, imamo probleme zdaj celo z rebalansom, zaradi tega, ker Ustavno sodišče ne odloči, ali bo referendum o razvojnem zakonu ali ne bo. In tam so veliki finančni učinki, brez tega je nemogoče planirati proračunsko leto ali pa ga popravljati, tako da izkoriščam to priložnost, čeprav ni mogoče pravo mesto za apel na Ustavno sodišče, da odloči, kakorkoli pač odloči. Oni so neodvisni v tem, kako odločijo, niso pa neodvisni v tem, da odločajo. In država zaradi tega stoji. In tudi tega problema glede obrambnih izdatkov ne moremo reševati, dokler nimamo čiste slike. Je pa jasno, da bo neke stvari potrebno narediti. Zdaj, prvo, kar bomo obljubili, je to, da bomo držali besedo, da tisto, kar bomo rekli, bomo tudi naredili, da ne bomo golfali, kot je prejšnja vlada, pa kot obrambne izdatke predstavljali nekaj, kar to ni, čeprav je klasifikacija jasna. In od te točke bomo šli naprej. Nemogoče pa je vse, kar je bilo obljubljeno, pa ne izpolnjeno, zdaj izpolniti v letošnjem letu, so tudi druge prioritete. In
danes na mizo, kar je bilo rečeno, tudi strani generalnega sekretarja Rutteja, da naj bi članice vse konkretne načrte jasne danes predstavile.
Načrti so bili narejeni že prej, obljube so bile danes, Slovenija sprejela zaveze in mogoče bo nekatere od teh zavez možno delno korigirati, drugače jih je pa enostavno treba izpolniti. In bo šlo za časovnico, ampak danes ni čas in prilika za zelo konkretne pogovore. Bo pa to izpolniti težje, recimo, ko je na začetku prejšnjega mandata Golobova vlada prekinila pogodbo za oklepnike Boxer, ki jih je prej Slovenija obljubila NATO že ne vem koliko časa, je plačala kazen za to, poleg tega so se pa podražili. Danes je po 4 letih zaradi znanih razlogov in situacije v svetu, je približno tak oklepnik praktično še enkrat dražji. Tukaj se postavlja tudi vprašanje, ne samo politične odgovornosti tistih, ki so Slovenijo pripeljali v situacijo, da bo morala zdaj še enkrat dražje plačati nekaj, kar smo že zdavno obljubili.
Ustrajala pri tem načrtu nakupa zdaj Patria ali bo tla prišlo do kakšnih sprememb?
Najhuje, kar je dejstvo, ravno kar sem govoril z obrambnim ministrom, da prejšnja vlada ni prišla niti do izbora, do odločitve. 4 leta so obljubljali, pa proučevali druge možnosti, rekli so, da bodo boljše. Dejstvo je, da niso zbrali nobene, da so zdaj vrste daljše, da so cene podvojene in da je to velik problem, tako v smislu časovne kot finančne dimenzije.
Glede nakupa 8-kolesnikov oziroma teh vozil?
Postopke je treba peljati naprej tam, kjer so jih prekinili pred 4 leti. Zdaj, kakšen bo izbor, pa kakšne so možnosti tudi financiranja, kreditiranja, ker to rabimo, glede na javnofinančno situacijo, jaz v tem trenutku ne vem še.
Glede gospoda Grimsa, danes naj bi EPP odločala o njegovi izključitvi. Kako to komentirate in pa, če bo izključen, ga boste tudi iz vaše stranke SDS izključili?
Torej, jaz upam, da do te izključitve ne bo prišlo. Zdaj, gospod Grims je v ponedeljek, ko smo imeli sejo izvršilnega odbora, sam dejal, da ima v EPP-ju veliko prijateljev, tako da Jaz računam, da te njegove besede držijo. Zdaj on ni kršil pravil Slovenske demokratske stranke, on je član poslanske skupine v slovenskem parlamentu, je član poslanske skupine Evropske ljudske stranke, tam je prišlo do nekaterih notranjih kršitev, zdaj pa vsak klub ima svoje pravila. Niso pa to take stvari, ker ne gre za vsebino, po našem mnenju, da bi zaradi tega moral biti izključen. In jaz upam, da ne bo.
Da ne bi škodoval vaši stranki.
Tista razprava je bila nekoliko daljša, kaj bi bilo, če bi bilo, pa mislim, da nismo še tam. Hvala lepa.
What if we wish to do, instead of the communications of the express. Right side of the home.
Litt lenger. Vi må litt lenger.
Great to be in Turkey for this summit. I expect this summit to show the unity of the alliance. We are much stronger if we are together. Since the NATO summit in The Hague, all European nations have increased their defense spending. But what matters now is not just increasing numbers, it's important that we do something with that money that makes us stronger. And that means that NATO needs to have each country specialize in a certain area. For us it is, for Luxembourg it is space, satellites and so on. And moreover, I'm very pleased to say that Luxembourg has co-sponsored with Canada the initiative on the Defense, Resilience and Security Bank. And I think it's very important that next to public finances, we also have private money that goes into defense. And so I think that this new initiative of the DSRB Bank, which will have its headquarters in Canada and the European hub in Luxembourg, will help especially the small and medium-sized industries to also participate in this effort to have a better defense industry. So it will create jobs also without burdening the public budgets. So I think the DSRB is something very important for the years to come. It's now 9 countries that signed the agreement, but there are more countries expected in the coming years.
Prime Minister, despite your best efforts,
I think that we are more united than sometimes that is reflected by certain statements, because we all realize that if there's a strong transatlantic bond, US, Canada and Europe, we are more united against the threats that are coming from elsewhere, in particular from Russia. Thank you.
And it's happening in a way where Europe is stepping up. And I think we are doing that in a responsible way. The rhetoric of this leader or that leader, we have to live with that. But if you look at the evidence, Europe is stepping up, not only in the way we spend, but that we spend wisely. We don't duplicate each other, but we spend in capabilities.
All of its troops out of Europe. We are woefully undefended, aren't we?
Yeah, but I don't see the US pulling all of their troops out of Europe. You know, it happens at time that President Trump is asking, what does NATO bring to the US? And I can tell you from Norway's perspective, a lot. We can demonstrate that what we do in the High North, in the Arctic, looking after, keeping calm, is of importance for our security, but also for the US homeland security. But I would like to say, because we live in a tense situation in Europe, this alliance is a threat to nobody. But it is made in a way that nobody should come up with the idea of threatening us. And that's why the summit is important to take stock. And I will reiterate again, it is of paramount importance to get a ceasefire and a fair and lasting peace for Ukraine.
A Russian spy plane dropping sonar buoys around a British HMS Prince of Wales aircraft carrier. Do you think that even though NATO is stepping up with its weapons spending, it's still failing to deter Russia under the threshold of conventional war, and actually that could ultimately lead to direct confrontation between Russia and the alliance?
Well, I think, you know, this is just underlining the need to maintain capacity in the northern waters, that we have surveillance capacity, that we have a modern fleet. The major investment Norway is making in this defense will be in its navy. And we do that in very innovative cooperation now with our British allies, with our Canadian and German allies. And we welcome that our partners are sailing more in the northern waters, precisely to avoid incidents like that.
Igjen ønsker å overta Grønland og sier det I går.
Nei, jeg sier det samme som tidligere. Jeg tar avstand fra den type uttalelser. Grønland en del av kongeriket Danmark. Det grønlendere og dansker som må avgjøre hvordan den utviklingen skal være. Og sikkerheten I Arktis, den tar vi vare på sammen. Der har vi gjort et viktig arbeid det siste året med USA og andre arktiske stater. Så den type utspill, den type påstander tar Norge avstand fra.
Vil forsvare Danmark med alt hun kan. Norge villig til å bidra og støtte Danmark I å forsvare landet?
Vi støtter Danmark, og vi støtter stabilitet I Norden. Der det avklarte grenser, avklarte forhold. Og selvfølgelig så har Danmark som vår nordiske og europeiske og NATO-partner vår fulle støtte. Thank you.